Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'll actually be talking about the iPhone 15 Pro Max. In this channel, I'll make videos about things that I'm passionate about. Now, it's almost been out for 3 months. I've had it literally from, I think, 2-3 days after it launched. And the release has been quite a tumultuous one with a lot of positives and some things that, a lot of consumers were concerned about. And personally, me, who's been an Apple, user for a decade, more than that now, there was some red flags that were occurring. Anyway, I just want to talk about my anecdotal experiences, the objective facts about the phone, and what I look forward for in the future. Now, I've recorded on this, I've done like a vlog on this iPhone. Now, I came from an iPhone 11 Pro Max, and my, objective, or maybe I would say subjective opinion on this is that if you're an iPhone user, you should upgrade an iPhone every 3 years. Because every year, it's just not that much worth of an upgrade. It just isn't. Now, if you jump from every 3 to 4 years, you'll be getting a lot of things that, you've kind of just missed out upon for years to come, such as better refresh rates, faster processors, more camera options, better iOS features, and just the whole shebang. Now, 11 Pro Max, there's a lot of limits to that. When it first came out, it was great. The camera was really nice. Did a whole vlog on it. I think that's my most watched video as well with it. I think 60,000 views, which is crazy. And it was a great phone, but then again, it had its limits. And then 4 years later, I have bought the iPhone 15 Pro Max, so 3.5 years, I would say. And the jump is so crazy, so ridiculous that it's such an immersive and such an amazing experience. Anyway, let's get to the nitty and gritty. The first thing I want to talk about is the display. Now, again, let me just come back to the 11 Pro Max. Refresh rate was, I think, clocking out or stuck at 60 Hertz from what I remember, the 11 Pro Max. Which to the average Joe doesn't really seem that crazy. I know if you're not a full tech head, you probably won't even notice the difference. Now you got the 15, the 15 Plus, the 15 Pro, and the 15 Pro Max. However, in the 15 and in the 15 Plus, you're limited to a 60 Hertz refresh rate, which kind of sucks. In a 2023 phone, a smartphone, 60 Hertz is not really, that impressive, which is something that I didn't really appreciate what Apple did. So right off the bat, that's one negative aspect about the 15 series. Just in general, the fact that they just didn't have more than 60 Hertz on a base model even. I understand, yes, it's not a Pro or a Pro Max, but even if it was 90 Hertz or 80 Hertz or some kind of bump. Anyway, for the 15 Pro Max, one of the main reasons I wanted to upgrade was for the 120 refresh rate, that really seamless experience. Now, don't get me wrong, there's crazy phones out there that can even go up to 200 plus 200 Hertz. Now, people that don't know what refresh rate is, long story short, it's basically how many times your screen is refreshing per second. The higher the refresh rate, the better. The more smoother the experience. So it's prevalent in gaming, in monitors, in phones, and it's a huge technological element. Now, the design and display, the high quality OLED display with Pro Motion technology and the higher refresh rate makes the experience really seamless, and it just looks really good. The colors are really nice. When it comes to the bezels, they're possibly smaller. Actually, they are smaller. It's much smaller than the older iPhones. What they're trying to do is just cover up that whole screen. So the whole screen is getting used rather than the thicker bezels that actually is visible to the human eye. It just creates a better seamless experience, and it just looks like the whole screen is getting used, which is something that I've always enjoyed. When you keep going back and back to the older iPhones, you could see that the bezels were much more visible. And in the 15 Pro Max, especially, they're hardly there, which is quite interesting, which is quite captivating for the human eye. Now, the display gets incredibly bright, 1000 nits, or with HDR content, 1600 nits indoors and 2000 nits outdoors, especially for those sunny days. You really need that extra brightness. Now, there are some other phones right now, some other smartphones that are going to 2500 nits or 2200 nits. So there are other companies and other phones out there that are beating Apple's current brightness level. But 2000 nits is quite adequate, especially for me, especially on a sunny day outside. And if anything, honestly, it can be almost too bright at times, I've noticed, even in low light situations. That's why sometimes I have the auto light feature on based on the environment that you're in. It changes the brightness of the screen. It's really cool. yeah, I really enjoy it. I think I'm quite happy with the nit level. Again, for people that don't know what nits are, it's basically how brightness is measured. Now, one of my favorite parts of why, I guess, of this video and why I actually decided to end up getting the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it's the camera. The camera now tops out at 48 megapixels. Now, that might not sound like a lot because a lot of other cameras and a lot of other smartphones can go way higher. But there's something that Apple does specifically in the new iPhone 15 series that makes this, I guess, camera world that they've created really special. Now, I'm a sucker for cameras, especially DSLR I'm using now, and new lenses. They're so expensive. And yes, phones, I don't think will ever get to a stage where DSLRs are or cameras are, because, you know, these are really sophisticated systems meant for, I guess, photographies or videographies. The quality on the 15 Pro Max is so insane, and some of the things that you can do now is so sick that it's almost like not identical, but some of the features that you can easily do on the sophisticated cameras can now be just on the tip of your hands on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. What's interesting is now photos default to 24 megapixels. In the past, they used to actually default to 12 megapixels. This is if you have taken out the 48 megapixel option. If you've just completely unchecked that and you just, haven't selected anything special and gone in the settings app, photos are now being taken in 24 megapixels. That's your standard megapixel rate, which a lot of cameras don't do, because a lot of other big smartphones, their initial, I guess, standard megapixel rate is still 12 megapixels. The fact that it's taking in 24 megapixels is amazing without, creating any damage to the photos or altering the photos or taking a lot of storage. It does a great job of just taking standard 24 megapixel photos, which is insane. And obviously the A17 Pro Bionic chip is doing a lot here, especially the sensors that they have installed in the camera as well. We'll get to that shortly, but I just want you to remember that standard photos are getting taken in 24 megapixels. It doesn't sound like a lot, but standard, just remember that. It's not altering anything in the photo when you take it in a really high megapixel rate. It's not taking a lot of storage. It's not taking ages to capture it and taking a long time to take the photo. Dynamic range is not getting affected. Now you can also choose from 3 different focal lengths, including 24 millimeters, 28 millimeters, and 35 millimeters, to better mimic what you can do with adjustable lens cameras. This is crazy. Basically me taking out this lens and putting on another focal length and just taking it all out. I don't have to do that anymore. I can just click my fingers. I can just tap my fingers on the screen, and there you go. I have 3 different focal lengths. For some people that might not know, it's actually not cropping the image. It's actually genuinely adjusting to those focal lengths, which is insane. A lot of time when I first saw the video of the cameras and all that stuff, I thought, oh, what it's just doing is that it's just cropping the image. And when an image gets cropped, it loses its quality. But no, the 3 focal lengths are getting active and retaining the same image quality, which is insane. This replaces that 3 times optical zoom lens that were in the previous iPhones. The 5-time optical zoom is equivalent to 120 millimeters telephoto lens, which is a great focal length for portraits and a lens that can just be used in many ways. Stabilization is insane, man. Like, I've done some crazy tests and just some videos as well, and if I'm just recording with it, looks really like shaky, but then as soon as the video gets processed, the photo gets processed in like a matter of seconds, it just looks so stable. It's insane how crazy stable it looks. And now video is still pretty much the same. You can record up to 4K 60 FPS, or you can go down, or there's 24 FPS, there's 30 FPS, and there's 60 FPS if I'm not mistaken. And it's all great. The camera quality is just great. I believe that, again, trying not to be too biased, but video looks the best. Any kind of video, if you were to compare any smartphone, iPhone's videos just always look amazing. Without anything being filtered or anything post-production or anything like that. The dynamic range is really nice. The colors are really good. Sharpness is really nice as well. And it's not too oversaturated. It's just amazing. I love how iPhone videography looks. However, ladies and gentlemen, now you can actually select log footage. For people that don't know, log is a unfiltered footage. If you were to shoot in log footage, you actually get more of a space to color grading and more space in post-production. It's like a blank canvas where you can just add your own colors, because if I was to not shoot in log right now, the camera or the iPhone's camera does its own kind of, pre-existing filters and adds its own colors, which is great and it looks awesome. But if you're serious about videography and you want to retain all of your colors and have a freedom to do whatever you want in color grading, log is the best profile you can shoot in. Yes, it takes up more space, if I'm not mistaken, especially if you're shooting in really high qualities, and if I'm going all the way up to 4K, 24 FPS or even higher, but the quality looks amazing. Currently right now I'm shooting in log as well. And this video will look really white and just really faded. But however, it'll give me a lot of freedom to color grade it in post-production. So now you can actually shoot in log, which is amazing, on your iPhone. It's never been done before on an iPhone. It's crazy. You can now shoot in HEIF, which means high efficiency image file. I don't know if it's specifically from Apple or just in general, but it's considered better than JPEG, because again, when you take photos in JPEG, it loses a lot of its essential quality. RAW takes up a lot of space. I think HEIF in the middle, it's a sweet spot where you can retain a lot of the quality, but also save some space with your photos. So I've been currently shooting in HEIF as well, and you can toggle that on and off on the camera, and the quality is insane. There's all these crazy other features on the iPhone 15 Pro Max's camera. Now you can just shoot every photo with the depth of field attached, and you can just change it in settings as long as you touch the aperture button on the bottom left. I don't want to talk about it too much, but yeah, that's long story short, that's the camera. And some of the camera photos and videos that I've been taking has been insane, man. I can't wait to keep using this. It's awesome. Now, I was talking about the A17 Pro chip. It's a newer, more powerful A series chip for faster performance and better efficiency. The RAM has increased as well for smoother multitasking and app performance. I have no issues with the phone lagging or crashing, which is insane. So far, I haven't had any issues, if I'm being super honest. Now for the connectivity, it's got 5G support with advancements in network capabilities. It's got Wi-Fi 6E support for faster wireless connectivity and potentially enhanced Bluetooth capabilities as well. Every time I'm next to a Wi-Fi, it's just, I'm never on 2 bars in my house. Like literally right now, the modem is like, I would say it's a little bit far from where I'm sitting, and there's a wall between us and everything, and it's still on 3 bars, which is insane. I've never seen this Wi-Fi in my house go to 2 bars, unless the Wi-Fi is out or something's wrong with the modem or there's like a storm outside, whatever, if there's an external network issue. But so far, insane. Battery's improved as well. Now, there wasn't too much of a battery jump this year as compared to last year's 14 Pro Max. It was just a little bit, but I remember the 11 Pro Max had crazy battery. That was like one of the best batteries that had come out that year for any smartphone. Because remember, I had an iPhone 7 before that, or like an 8, I'm not really sure, and the battery was atrocious. And the 11 Pro Max's battery was so good, I'm like, what is happening? Why isn't this dying? And it was just one of the best things that I had ever seen in an iPhone. Now, obviously the battery in the 15 Pro Max is much better than the 11 Pro Maxes as well. And I can tell you with, all honesty, like even today, what's my screen time? If I was to go on my screen time right now, it's on 3 hours and 12 minutes. But I have used a lot of YouTube, a lot of cellular data, and a lot of, just music as well, maps also, and it's still sitting on 62%, which is insane. That's pretty crazy, and it's only 4 p.m. right now. Still got 8 hours to go for the day to end, and it's just, I've got Bluetooth on, I've got Wi-Fi on, probably have background apps syncing or something right now. iOS, I feel like, is such a good operating software, is that they just do so well. And I'm so excited. Every year I'm always like blown away with, oh, they've added this, they've added that, and just incrementally, just making the UI just really friendly and immersive. And yeah, I love it. Now the storage options for the 15 Pro Max are 256 gig, 512 gigs, and a terabyte. I believe that a terabyte is an overkill. 500 is a sweet spot, but unfortunately I didn't want to spend that much. So I got the base model, which is the 256 gig. And it's quite sufficient. Yes, towards the end, I think every time I've got on a 256 gig iPhone, it always runs out of space by the time I'm done with it in like 2 or 3 years. However, I actually didn't talk about one thing, and that is the USB-C connectivity. Now, we're not done. We all know that the European Union forced all the users or the older kind of phones in its realm to have USB-C connectivity, and due to this, Apple had finally gotten this feature, something that a lot of phones have had for years. And I never really liked the lightning cable. I never was a fan of it. I was waiting for the USB-C connectivity to come for ages. Now I can take my Mac charger, plug it on the iPhone. Now I can take my AirPod charger and plug it on the iPhone. It's insane. I can plug in SSD drives and external hard drives or anything like that and just transfer things from my iPhone to it. And which is what I'm probably going to be doing once I'm done with, and especially if I want to shoot more log footage, that's going to take up a lot of space. Or one day if I'm just finished with the storage, I'm just going to buy an external hard drive, chuck it in the USB-C port, and then just go from there. Transfer all my stuff. The transfer speeds are quite quick as well. And then just take off all the memory from my iPhone and keep it on the storage, which is insane. I used to do that with my computer back in the day. Now I can do that with my phone. And I really, really am happy that Apple has decided to go that way. The speakers are really nice. Again, I don't really have an objective measurement to give you on how nice they are or how much better they are. But man, they're the best speakers I've had on an iPhone. Much louder, and they just blast really loud, and I have no issues with it. When I compare it to my old 11 Pro Max or just an old friend's iPhone that I have, they're really loud. I have the Silicone Case that I got from Apple, and this has been so nice, man. It feels really nice. People said, the fine woven case had a lot of complaints, so I didn't end up getting it, but I went to the Apple store and I got this. It was like $85 Australian, and I've had no issues with it so far. It still feels smooth. It still feels really nice. Every time I hold my phone, it just has a nice feeling to it. You have to address the elephant in the room was the overheating issues that Apple was copying, especially when it released. And not gonna lie, it actually happened to me like 2-3 times. And it would happen weirdly, not even when I was running a crazy app like Photoshop or Lightroom or just downloading stuff. It would just, or even playing a game, it would just randomly overheat. And when I say overheat, it would actually got really hot once. I think it was like the second or third day I had the phone. And I was kind of concerned. I'm like, oh no, there was all these things happening on Twitter and everyone was complaining. I'm like, oh geez, I really hope something bad doesn't happen to the phone. And I did a lot of research. Long story short, the A17 Pro Bionic chip is so power hungry and it's so powerful that it just requires a lot of power. Due to that, it runs hot. And that's just the honest review. However, it rarely does it ever since they released like 2 to 3 updates on the iOS versions. And you know, the main recommendations were that these updates are going to provide a fix for the overheating issues. I don't know how they were going to do it, but they did it. And ever since I updated it, I haven't really had any overheating issues. I think there was once that it happened after I updated it. Again, not as bad. In total, honestly, I probably copped it like 5 different times since I got the phone compared to present day. But overall, I know some people were copying it really bad. I really hope that's fixed for a lot of people, and I hope that Apple just keeps coming out with new updates down the line. I know they listen to their customers a lot, especially when the new product comes out, because they want to keep that reputation really high. But yeah, that's my contention on it, on my take on it. Besides that, battery is good, camera is good, the display is really nice, the iOS you can't complain about. There's all these other features that you can do that I didn't even talk about, like the UI features that you can do inside the phone. I didn't even address it. My advice would be suss out or look at all the things that you like. Just choose wisely, and obviously don't get too hooked on Apple's, I guess, marketing tactics. That's where you sometimes have to be cunning. That's where sometimes you kind of have to be cunning and not get, I guess, succumbed to their cunningness, if that makes sense. But yeah. Anyway, that's my review on the 15 Pro Max. I've been loving the phone. I've done a lot of videos on it. I'm going to keep doing it. If you've liked this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And thank you for watching if you stayed till the end. Thank you so much.